It started with the smell. Not the usual metallic sting of oil and steel that came with working the line, but something darker, like burnt rubber and ozone, the kind of smell that made your gut twist. I remember walking into the south wing that morning and catching it right away. But no one else said a word. They just clocked in like always, heads down, minds shut. I'd been at Sentry Components for 21 years, started at 19, married, divorced, promoted, lived a whole damn life in that plant. By the time I was operations lead, I knew every bolt and belt in the place, and I knew when something was wrong. The new CEO, Garrett Lang, arrived with a grin and a checklist. One of those Ivy League bastards the board brings in to optimize performance. He had all the buzzwords: streamline, synergy, vertical integration. Never once asked how the place actually ran. Just nodded at spreadsheets and cut what he didn't understand. First it was the safety drills. Wasted time, he called them. Then the maintenance checks got stretched thin. Finally, he started offering bonuses for hitting impossible quotas, no questions asked. That's when I saw the fear creep into people's eyes. Not just fear of the machines, but of the people above them. One morning, I walked past Press Line 4 and saw sparks flying from the hydraulic housing. That machine hadn't been serviced in 4 months. I flagged it with maintenance twice. Got silence both times. So I brought it up in the weekly meeting. Garrett didn't even look up from his damn phone. "Tyler," he said, using my first name like we were old pals. "We need leaders focused on solutions, not slowing down production over minor concerns." I told him it wasn't minor. I told him someone could get crushed. He just gave me this look, like I was a toddler whining about bedtime. "We'll take it under advisement." That was his favorite phrase. Corporate code for shove it. I didn't. Shut up. Not this time. I started documenting everything. Dates, times, skipped checks, machines bypassing lockouts. Took photos on a burner phone I bought from a pawn shop 2 towns over. I even recorded a meeting where Garrett told floor managers to disable nuisance alerts on equipment if it kept them from meeting deadlines. I knew what I was doing. I knew what it meant. But after what happened to Nate, God. Nate. He was a kid, 24 maybe, just married, working on line 7, where the cutter heads were known to jam. We'd been warning about the faulty sensor for months. That day, the machine didn't stop. It chewed through the sheet metal, and Nate's hand went with it. He screamed so loud the entire floor went still. By the time the ambulance arrived, he'd lost 3 fingers and his thumb. Garrett called it a tragic error. Said Nate had acted outside of protocol. Bullshit. He followed every rule that hadn't been erased. That was the moment I knew I had to go beyond memos. Garrett wasn't going to change. The board didn't care. This wasn't just mismanagement, it was willful. I sent my first package to the state, Labour Board, the following Monday. A full report. Photos. Audio. Names redacted. For now. I didn't want to bring anyone down with me, not unless I had to. By Friday, Garrett called me into his office. The room smelled like lavender and leather, like it didn't belong in the same building as molten metal and worn steel toes. He smiled when I walked in, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Tyler," he said, "we appreciate your years of service." I didn't even let him finish. "I'm being fired for raising safety concerns? You're being relieved," he said, "for disrupting the chain of command and creating a hostile environment. 2 months severance. That's generous considering." I stood up, calm on the outside, but inside, I was boiling. I looked him straight in the eye and said one thing: "You'll regret this," and I meant it. I didn't go home right away after they fired me. I sat in my truck for almost an hour, staring at the rusted sign above the loading dock, Sentry Components. Built on strength. What a joke. The only thing they were built on now was the backs of people too scared to speak. When I finally turned the key, it wasn't to head home. I drove straight to my buddy Cal's house. He retired 2 years ago, used to be the plant's compliance officer before Garrett restructured the whole department into nothing. Cal had been watching from the sidelines, but he still had friends in legal state safety boards, even one at OSHA. "You got time to talk?" I asked when he opened the door. He took one look at my face and stepped aside without a word. Over cold coffee and a kitchen table buried in old fishing magazines, I laid it all out. The skipped inspections, the hidden injury reports, Garrett's orders, Nate's accident. Cal didn't interrupt once, just listened. When I finished, he exhaled slow. "You've got a case," he said. "But this is going to be ugly. They'll fight dirty." "They already are," I said, "and I'm done playing clean." We put together a plan. Cal helped me organize my documents into categories: equipment failures, falsified reports, corporate, memos. He also pointed me toward a journalist in the city who'd run exposés on similar factories. Her name was Brooke Mallory. Hard-nosed, smart, and allergic to bullshit. I emailed her that night. Didn't say much, just enough to get her attention. Attached one photo of the disabled emergency stop with a timestamp. She responded within the hour. "Tell me everything." The next day, I met her in a diner off I-76. She had a recorder, a notebook, and eyes like a hawk. I told her the story, showed her the files. She asked sharp questions, wanted proof, sources, connections. I gave her everything. By the end, her pen stopped moving. "This isn't just negligence," she said quietly. "This is criminal." No. Let me dig. This needs more than a headline. This is a front-page feature. I agreed, but warned her. Garrett will come after anyone tied to me. She gave me a dry smile. Good. That means we're close to the truth. Back at home, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. "Mr. Rhodes, this is Miranda Wolfe, with the State Safety and Labor Review Board. We received your report." She spoke slowly, carefully, like she knew every word mattered. "We take whistleblower complaints seriously. I'd like to arrange a confidential meeting to go over your evidence." I told her I'd come in the next day. That night, I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. My phone kept buzzing, former co-workers texting me everything from, "You okay?" to "They're saying you tried to sabotage the line." Garrett wasn't wasting time. He was building a narrative. Disgruntled employee, bitter about being replaced. But I had truth on my side. What I didn't expect, what caught me completely off guard, was the call from Nate's wife. "Mr. Rhodes," she said, her voice shaky. "This is Leah. Nate told me how you tried to stop what happened. He said you were the only one who cared." I didn't know what to say. My throat tightened. "I just wanted to say thank you," she continued. "And if there's anything I can do to help." That was when I knew this wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about justice, for Nate, for Leah, for every single person still clocking into that death trap, not knowing if they'd clock out again. And Garrett Lang, he had no idea the storm that was coming for him. The next morning, I sat across from Miranda Wolfe in a narrow office with peeling wallpaper and a clunky desktop computer. Her badge sat on the desk, along with a legal pad covered in tight, meticulous handwriting. She asked me to start from the beginning, so I did. I laid out everything: the cancelled safety drills, the skipped inspections, the altered injury reports, the audio recording of Garrett downplaying the importance of machine alerts. I handed her my thumb drive. She plugged it in and started, scanning the folders while I talked. She didn't smile, didn't frown either, just listened. Her pen moving silently like a metronome keeping time. When I finished, she looked up. "Do you have reason to believe these actions directly contributed to a specific injury?" "Nate Coulter," I said, "lost his hand on line 7. I flagged that sensor for replacement 3 times. Nothing was done." She nodded once, clicked, into the incident log. "This entry says the machine was functioning properly and that the injury was caused by operator error." "They falsified that," I said. "Nate followed every step of the protocol." Miranda pushed back from her desk and looked at me hard. Mr. Rhodes, I'm going to be honest with you. If this documentation holds up, and from what I've seen so far, it will, this isn't just a fine. This is criminal liability. You could be the key witness in a case against Century Components and its executive leadership. I'm not trying to bring down a company, I said quietly. I'm trying to stop someone from getting killed. Sometimes those are the same thing. She gave me her card. Don't contact anyone at the plant. Let us handle it, but if anything changes, you call me directly. As I stepped outside, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Brooke, the journalist. Tyler, she said. I just got confirmation from a former employee who wants to go on record. Says Garrett threatened to fire anyone who reported injuries. Who? She hesitated. Someone named Sergio? Worked in quality control? Sergio had been one of the few left who still gave a damn about the truth. I hadn't seen him since the layoffs. He's good, I said. Solid. Well, he's talking, and I've got 3 others who are willing to be anonymous sources. This story's moving fast. She paused for a beat. But Garrett knows. He's already issued a statement to the press claiming you're a disgruntled former manager with an axe to grind. Of course he had. I figured he would, I said. That's why I'm not just telling my story. I'm showing it. That evening, I got a visit at home. It was Cal again, but he wasn't alone. Behind him stood Nate. His left arm was wrapped tight in bandages. His face was pale, thinner than I remembered, but his eyes were sharp. I needed to see you, he said. We sat out on my porch. No small talk. Just silence between men who'd both had something ripped from them. I heard what you're doing, he said finally. The paper, the report. Thank you. I should have done more sooner. He shook his head. You did what you could. Garrett's the one who didn't give a damn. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out a manila envelope. What's this? Copies of my internal reports. I logged that faulty sensor 3 separate times. They buried it, changed the timestamps, but I kept the originals. I opened the envelope, and there it was, official incident logs, with his handwritten notes, signatures, dates. Leah said we should fight, he said, eyes flicking down to his bandaged stump. Because if we don't, it'll happen again. I nodded, swallowing, the lump in my throat. It won't, not if I have anything to say about it. By the time they left, I knew what had to happen next. No more hiding, no more whispers. I called Brooke. Run the story, I said. Full blast, front page, names. I'll go on record, and I'll testify to every word. You're sure? She asked. Yeah. Garrett wants to play games. I paused, looking down at the envelope in my hands. Let's play. The article hit the front page on a Tuesday morning. Profit over people. Inside Century Components. Culture of Neglect by Brooke Mallory, investigative reporter. My face was on it. So was Nate's. The headlines stretched across half the paper. Photos of the factory, the disabled emergency stops, and a blurry still from Garrett's company-wide meeting, where he told workers to keep production moving, safety be damned. The story was brutal, honest, unavoidable. By noon, the phones at Century's headquarters were melting down. News vans showed up. Reporters circled the plant gates. Workers were texting me non-stop. They're finally listening. You did it, Ty. They shut down Line 7. Garrett, of course, tried to spin it. He held a press conference standing behind a podium with the company logo plastered all over it. Polished, practiced, hollow. We are deeply saddened by the misinformation circulating about our facility. We remain committed to safety and operational excellence. These accusations stem from a former employee who has chosen a personal vendetta over facts. He smiled like a snake, talked about thorough internal investigations and procedural reviews. He almost made it sound believable. Until the Labour Board issued a public statement later that afternoon. They were opening a full criminal investigation into workplace violations and possible fraud. OSHA had already scheduled an emergency inspection. and the State Attorney General had launched a preliminary inquiry into falsified reports and negligence resulting in injury. Garrett's smirk didn't survive the evening. The next day, I got a call from a number I didn't expect. The board of directors. They wanted a meeting. I sat across from 7 people I'd never met before, none of whom had ever set foot on the production floor. Clean suits, clean hands. A woman named Ruth Middleton, board chair, did most of the talking. She looked like someone who usually dined in country clubs, not break rooms. We were unaware of the full extent of these violations, she said, tight-lipped. We placed an extraordinary amount of trust in Mr. Lang. Yeah, I said. And now a 24-year-old kid has no hand because of it. The room went silent. We want to make this right, she said finally. We're placing Mr. Lang on unpaid leave effective immediately pending investigation, and we'd like to offer you a position on our internal audit committee. I shook my head. I'm not interested in cleaning up your PR mess. Then what do you want? One of the other board members asked, impatient. I want Garrett gone. I want criminal charges filed. I want every machine that's been flagged for repairs to be shut down and fixed before someone else gets maimed. That's a lot to ask. No, I said, standing. That's the bare minimum. They didn't argue. That weekend, I visited Nate again. He was at home now, adjusting to life with his new prosthetic. They offered me a settlement, he said. Low 6 figures. A joke. Don't take it, I said. You'll get more, and they'll pay for what they did. He nodded. I'm not doing it for money anyway. I'm suing because they need to be scared for once. Good, I said. Let 'em sweat. On Monday morning, Garrett Lang was escorted out of the building. The plant workers lined the hallway, arms crossed, watching him leave. No one clapped. No one said goodbye. I was standing by the loading dock when he passed me. He stopped for a second, eyes narrowed. You think you've won, he muttered. No, I said. I think Nate hasn't lost. That shut him up. Weeks passed. Then, months. OSHA cited the company with dozens of violations. Garrett was indicted on charges of criminal negligence and falsifying official safety records. Nate's lawsuit moved forward. The factory got new equipment, new training programs, and a new plant manager. Someone from inside who actually knew the job. And me. I didn't go back. But every once in a while, I'd drive past the plant. I'd see the workers, heads high again. Machines running clean. Fire exits unblocked. Safety signs back up on the walls where they belonged. One morning, a young guy walked out on his break and saw me idling in my truck. You, Tyler? He asked. Yeah. He smiled. Thanks for not shutting up. I nodded, shifted into gear, and pulled away. Because sometimes that's all it takes. One person who refuses to stay quiet.